What's going on, everybody? I'm Daniel Levi. He is Shaq. This is Half the Battle. We're going to be talking UFC Sydney, Fabricio Werdum versus Marcin Tybura. And Shaq, the UFC's back down under.
Yeah, man, this is a huge spot for Tybura. I mean, if he can go in here and get this win, I mean, he's going to shock the world. And now he's a top contender. And we got plenty of other good fights, Belal and Tim Means. And, Will Brooks, let's see if he can, he needs this one bad. Let's see if he gets the job done.
His back is up against the wall for sure. But let's start off with this female strawweight bout. I know everyone wants to hear about it. We got Nadia Kassem. She's minus 155, and Alex Chambers is plus 135. Now, normally we wouldn't start on a fight like this, but I heard you had a strong opinion on it.
Yeah, man. Alex Chambers, if you guys have watched the tape on her, I mean, it's plain and simple. She is there to get hit and not answer back. In all of her UFC fights, she gets completely dominated, despite the Kyle fight, which she was down 2 rounds. And I mean, when chicks like Paige Van Zandt are going in there and just having their complete way with you and you're not offering anything back, you're getting taken down whenever they want to take you down, they're teeing off on you on the feet, and it's happening in all of her fights, the Aisling Daly fight, the Kyle Curran fight, the Paige Van Zandt fight, and it's going to happen here too. I know Kassim's inexperienced, I know she's never fought a chick with a win, but that's the case with a lot of these newcomers, man. On the local scene, you have to fight jobbers, and she's taken care of every jobber. It's not like she's going out there tying up with the jobbers and losing rounds and getting taken down. She's going there and finishing them in less than a minute, all of them. And that's exactly what she's supposed to do. I don't know if Alex Chambers can do that. So yeah, I did fade Alex Chambers. I put 2 units on Nadia Kassem minus 150 because I just think that Chambers does not honestly want to be there. I kind of compared the situation the scenario to the Marcelo Gome Colombo situation. I know Gome's a lot better than Kassem, but it's the same scenario because when you get one chick that she's good at taking damage, that's what she's good at. She's got half a little takedown, but then when she gets the takedown, she gets reversed every single time, and she has nothing to offer. I think she's going to be a punching bag. I think Kassim's going to blast her with the left kick and do whatever she wants. And honestly, I should be putting more on this, but I'm going to just play it safe just for the factors that I said earlier. But I think Kassim's going to handedly win this fight.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you should always look to fade Alex Chambers long term.
2-year layoff, 39 years old, and we already seen what happened in her last fight. If Paige Van Zandt does that to you, like, I don't even know what to say.
And I mean, you watch the tape, and Kyle Curran's whooping this girl's ass. Paige Van Zandt's putting on a clinic. It's like K1 Paige Van Zandt out there. So that in itself is really damn sad. Aisling Daly's finishing this girl in the first round. You know what I'm saying? So for that, you should fade her. The area that I have hesitation in is that Nadia Kassem, on one hand, you can say that she handled the jobbers exactly how you're supposed to handle the jobbers, which is get them out of there right away. On the other hand, you can say what I said before the Marcelo Gome fight, and it turns out it didn't even matter, which is that she hasn't even been past the minute 28 mark of the first round. You know what I'm saying?
It ain't going to matter. Trust me.
So that's why I haven't made a bet on this fight yet, even though I'm kind of thinking to myself, I mean, look, if she can finish these chicks, we know that girls aren't known for knocking other girls out, and this chick's going out there and finishing them.
It's just the fact that we know this chick is there to get hit, and what is she good at?
Getting hit.
She's good at taking punches, good at getting her ass whooped. Plain and simple.
Yeah, so with that being said, it is an opportunity because this could be the last time we get to fade Alex Chambers. So, part of me wants to put 2 units on it, but we'll see what happens. I want to see the fight week stuff because, I mean, we really don't know shit about this girl at all. So I gotta put a little more investigative research into it because there's only 2 fights on tape. You know what I'm saying?
There's only 2 fights on tape on Marcelo Gome as well. And it's going to be the same type of thing. It might not be the quick bludgeoning, but it's going to be 30-26, 30-27. Take her down with our, basic ass the female takedown. And we're going to do whatever we want.
At least with Marcelo Gome.
But it's the scenario. When you have a guy like Colombo who doesn't do anything in his fights, he fought a jobber in Danho and won because Danho's a little a bitch. And then, for example, Chambers beat Kylan Curran, who's a mental head case that legitimately let her get the armbar. It happened in the second round, and then she had her taken down in the second round, and she was like playing with it and waving her finger in the air like it's not going to happen. And then she goes in there and does it again in the third round. And what's Kylan Curran's UFC record? 1-6. And then when you get dominated by Paige Van Zandt, dominated by Ashling Daly, you don't belong here. 2-year layoff, 39 years old. She could be training at ATT. She's been training at ATT. It don't matter. She's coming in here to get her ass whooped.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but where I was going with this was that with Marcelo Golm, we've actually seen him take people down. We've actually seen him knock people out on the feet. So we knew that he had both areas of the game covered. He's training at a great gym. With her, I mean, her main training partner is Ashkan Mokhtarian.
It's not her main training partner. She just trains at the same gym, but so what, man? A gym is a gym. Plenty of guys train at bum gyms or whatever you want to call it, and they come in here and do fine, man. This is just a specific spot. I don't give a fuck what Nadia Kassem does for the rest of her career, how she goes on. This is just this particular spot, and I feel like people overplay she hasn't been past a minute, just like they have in the past. It doesn't matter. When you're fighting a punching bag that's coming off a 2-year layoff and gets dominated in every single one of her fights, you have to play it.
Yeah, and you make some very good points, and I am picking Nadia Kassem as well, and I might be joining you on a bet. You'll have to follow me at Best Fight Picks to find out. And if I do, I have to do it soon, man, because
it's gonna inflate up very soon. I'm telling you. By Thursday, Friday, it's gonna be like -240, -250, and.
Yep, and rightfully so. So next up in the flyweight division, we got Eric Shelton. He's -350, Shaq, and the comeback on Jenel Lausa is +290. Now, I thought it was going to be, -135 Shelton, -110 Lausa. It's -350
Well,
Shelton.
yeah, Shelton is the better fighter here. I mean, the guy was on tough. He beat Sherbatov, and then he lost to Pantoja and Jared Brooks, who, in my opinion, both of those guys are top 15 guys.
Too.
And Tim Elliott. Both those guys are top 15 guys, or all three of them are. So, he is the better fighter, but the thing with Shelton is he has that tendency to fight down to his opponent's levels. He, might have a tendency to fight a little bit close. And Lausa, I mean, at least this guy didn't go in here. I know he got dominated by Magomed Bubalata, but Bulatov Bibulatov just took his first loss, but it was first L time, man. And Bubulatov's a much more well-rounded fighter. I think Shelton should come out here and take care of business. I think the line is completely off. If you're looking to just throw a dart at Lausa, I understand, because Shelton, I feel like he's that type of guy to cry split decision, you know what I'm saying? So this pick is Shelton, but it's definitely dog or pass.
Yeah. As far as the line is concerned, it's definitely dog or pass, but the matchup, I mean, look, Shelton, people have been hyping this guy up. A lot of people were saying he's going to be a future champion. Now, I think that's that's out the question already, but, it's one of those situations where the kid's athletic, the kid's talented. It's just he's got to put it all together. And with Lausa, he's one of these Filipino boxers, boxing for MMA, let me add that, you know what I mean? He's got some hands. It's just about him putting it together as well. So we're going to see who's got the better game here. I mean, I'm picking Shelton, but once again, from a bet perspective, -350 is a joke. So we'll see what happens, because it could be close, man. Don't be surprised if he loses another split, which he is known for. He loses by split a lot, Shaq.
I mean, all his losses in the UFC are by split, so.
Yeah, so just, tread carefully is all I got to say about that. Now, this one's going to be very good, man. We got Damien Brown versus Frank Camacho. Camacho's -135, and the comeback on beatdown Brown is +115. I mean, look, these two are going to throw down until one guy falls. This is literally that fight, and who's going to fall?
Man, it's a good matchup. Damien Brown, he's very aggressive. He likes to, he actually takes a lot of shots early, and then if he can stay in the fight in rounds 2 and 3, he likes to turn it up, let his hands go on the inside. But, man, Frank Camacho is not the guy you want to be slugging with inside the pocket. The guy throws concussive blows. He's very experienced. He's been a pro for like 12 years, I think. The guy's very experienced, and I'm actually going to take Camacho. I actually think, if I didn't have other plays, things that I'm more confident in, that I'd play Camacho at -135, because I honestly think he's going to win. Beatdown Brown's my boy, but the way he fights, he's very open early, and Camacho throws serious bombs early. I mean, we watched that Kasuya fight in the local scene yesterday, and he fucked Kasuya up until he got his back taken and choked out. I feel like Camacho's the type of guy that'll get choked out and not knocked out. And I feel like Damien Brown's the type of guy to get knocked out very early, like we saw in the Pachel fight. And if Camacho wanted to take him down, he could, because we know Damien's not an offensive wrestler. He's looking if you wanted to seal around, I feel like it would be available. This is not the type of guy to sub Camacho, but I think Camacho will come out here and get the win.
I feel like Camacho is the new school Melvin Gillard. You know what I'm saying? That first round, you better watch out if you're standing and begging with Camacho. But if you can threaten the takedown, if you can get him in that clinch, if you can get him down to the mat, it's a different guy than when he's standing and banging, throwing those vicious bombs at you. Because, I mean, the dude throws with the intent to get you out of there. And that's the bottom line. So Damien Brown has to be super careful, especially early, man. There is a chance that Damien Brown gets knocked out in this fight. Make no mistake about it. However, if he doesn't get knocked out in that first round and he can get it to the second and third, he might take over because Camacho is the kind of guy, and not just in his last fight. I know it was short notice. I know it was up a weight class, but historically speaking, if you go back and you watch this guy's fights, he comes out super hard in that first. Now, either he gets you out of there, but if he doesn't get you out of there, he starts to slow down a lot. So slowing down against a guy like Damien Beatdown Brown is not a good proposition. At the same time, the way he throws in that first round and the way that, Damien Brown's kind of a slow starter. He needs to feel you out. He got dropped a little bit by John Tuck before he found, his groove. And even in his last fight, man, he was finding his groove and then he got caught. So he's got to be super careful here. I was actually looking at playing the under 2.5 in this spot. I was surprised it was set at under 2.5. I thought it was going to be set at under 1.5. So I'm taking a look there. We'll make talks very soon. But yeah, all comes down to, can Damien Brown get past the first round? That's all I got to know, and I can't wait to tune in to find out. Now, also in the lightweight division, Will Brooks, he's minus 600. And the comeback on Nick Lentz, the Carney, is plus 450. Now, man, Nick Lentz is a plus 450 dog here. What do you think about it?
Whenever you see plus 4 or 5 against an 11-5 guy in the UFC, you're generally like, whoa, what's going on here? But then when you really look into it, it's rightfully so, to be honest. Like, I'm sure you guys have heard me say 2 or 3 times on the show before that I feel like Nick Lentz's body has completely failed him, and I put him in the same category with a Johnny Hendricks, because this guy's a D1 wrestler, been cutting weight his whole life, and then all of a sudden, he's got Mike Dolce with him, and he's making cuts to 145, and he's gaining 30 pounds in one night, fighting at 175 back when he used to be a featherweight, and I feel like those big weight inflations have, just ruined his body, and he even said it himself after the Danny Castillo fight. He said that he's having medical problems because of all the weight cutting, and that, that his body isn't, and he just had a weight cutting disaster a couple weeks ago on UFC 216 or whatever it was. He just had a weight cutting disaster then, man. So, I got Will Brooks at minus 350. I parlayed it with somebody else later, and I feel like Will Brooks is going to come out here and do what he does. This fight will be hairy for about a minute or two. Nick Lentz is a very tough guy. One thing about Nick Lentz, he has no quit in him. I mean, Islam Makhachev full mounted him and smashed his face in, and Nick Lentz did not give up. The guy can push, D1 wrestler, like I said, but I feel like at this stage, Will Brooks is back against the wall. He needs this win so bad. If he lost his fight, he might get cut. They're paying the guy a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like he's going to come in here, use the check knees, the jab, fight pretty on the feet like how he used to do against Bellator. Like, for example, I see this going exactly like the Dave Jansen fight, except that Lentz won't come out as hard as Jansen did that first round. And I just think Will seal off takedowns. We know Nick Lentz will give up that bottom position going for guillotines, and he's gotten one guillotine in his life, and he just keeps going for guillotines now. So he's going to give us that top position, and we're going to beat him up for 3 rounds.
Who was that one guillotine against?
Waylon Lowe.
And what happened to Waylon Lowe inside the octagon after that fight?
If you guys go on Fight Pass, Joe Silva cut Waylon Lowe in the octagon because, in the lead up to the Nick Lentz guillotine, he was laying on Lentz and, just being born. And I guess he lost his fight before that. I can't remember. And then Joe Silva let him out. He told him, "You're gone." In the octagon.
He's like, "You just laid on the guy and did absolutely nothing."
And Nick Lentz got a $50K bonus.
So, I know we've been critical of Will Brooks in the past, but this is such a spot where he can get back on track. And make no mistake about it, the loser's going home. It doesn't matter who takes the L in this fight. They are getting cut from the UFC. And I think Will Brooks is going to get back on track here, man. Look, the fights he had with Cowboy Oliveira and Dubronx, you got to understand that.
That ain't happening here.
Cowboy Oliveira is a physical specimen. You see what that dude just did to Ryan LaFleur?
Yeah.
I mean, and not only that, do you see what he did to Will Brooks? I know he missed weight and all that, but still, that's something that Nick Lentz doesn't do.
And Will Brooks fought tough. I mean, allegedly he said he had a messed up rib, but I mean, he was still taking him down. He was still taking his back.
Yeah, that was just a different matchup, and also Dubronx. We saw what Dubronx did to Nick Lentz twice, so I'm not worried about that scenario happening here with Nick Lentz. You know, I just think that Nick is at that point where, you know, he doesn't need a fight anymore in terms of, you know, his body, but he needs to fight in terms of, you know, he needs to show up for that paycheck. You know the deal here. So he's going to show up to Australia, take an L, and this will be the last time you get to fade him, but unfortunately it's minus 600 on Will.
Give him one more chance.
You think they'll give him
one fight. He's only lost one fight. He hasn't lost 2 in a row.
This is true, but I mean, what was the last exciting Nick Lentz fight? I mean,
Castillo.
the Evan Dunham and Charles Dubronx fights were a long time ago, my man.
The Castillo fight was entertaining in the fact that like they were both so tired and old, and Lentz just like stalked him and whooped his ass, and fucking he ate some shots as well. But it was a fun fight.
Maybe they'll give him one more chance.
Give him a chance.
So, you know, Will Brooks, now here's the question. Is Will Brooks going to finish the fight? Which he's not known for finishing fights.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to finish just because of the way he fights. You know, he likes to be pretty. But we've seen how Nick Lentz throws punches in that Castillo fight. It's very ugly. Even the Michael McBride fight. If you guys watched that fight, McBride clipped him behind the ear one time, and Nick Lentz hit a knee. Luckily, he got back on top, and McBride is the jobber of jobbers. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
Nick Lentz is on the decline. He's been on the decline for a while. This ain't the guy that, you know, fought at 45. This is a guy that's bloated, old. I mean, you look at his face when he was fighting at 145 and you look at his face now. I mean, it's like a 30-year age gap. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. Now in the flyweight division, we got Ryan Benoit. He's minus 255, and the comeback on Ashkan Mokhtarian is plus 215. Now, I mean, Ryan Benoit, on his best day, he can go out there and knock out Sergio Pettis. On his worst day, he's getting dominated by Anthony Burchak. So, what are you thinking, man?
Man, you know, a lot of people I see love Benoit, and, you know, I totally understand it. You guys think Ashkan is what we like to refer to as a jobber, a bum, you know.
An Ashkan?
And a can. And I understand it. You know, the thing is, he did fight Moraga, who's a top 10 flyweight in his debut, and my thing with Benoit is, man, when I watch the guy, it's kind of disappointing because I feel like he misses so many punches due to the fact that he's trying to knock your head off. But the thing is, if he can land, I mean, you're going to feel it. I mean, he dropped Moreno twice. He knocked out Sergio Pettis. I mean, when he lands, you feel it. The thing about Benoit is his takedown defense is terrible. I mean, I don't know what the actual percentage is. But, I mean, when he's not fighting, you know, a 3-0 Freddie Serrano who's shooting takedowns, you know, trying to ankle pick him and shit like that, like in the Moreno fight, Moreno gets his hands clasped every single time against the fence, you know, and I question his cardio as well. I feel like, you know, if you can lean on this guy early, and he's the type of guy to just start swinging big haymakers and missing. If he can land, he can land, but I feel like it's that type of fight where it's going to be a real sweat. I feel like this might be closer than what the line indicates. Benoit is the pick for me. I think he should win this fight 100%. Like I said, I don't think Ashkan's a UFC level flyweight. But I can't trust Benoit because I question his takedown defense. I mean, he gets taken down a lot, bro. And then his cardio, the guy's huffing and puffing. He can win these ugly fights like against Serrano, who's very inexperienced. But I'm going to go with Benoit, but no bet for me. This is a fight I don't want any part of.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it well, man. Benoit should absolutely knock this dude out. But don't be surprised if he doesn't, because he drops the ball a lot. I mean, there's a reason he's a 500 fighter in the UFC. But on his best day, like I said, he's out there knocking out the number one contender, Sergio Pettis. He had to go through hell to be able to accomplish that, but he still did it. The dude can knock anyone out in that weight class, and honestly, I think his takedown, well, it's not really his takedown defense, but his get-up game. His get-up game got a lot better. It's just, you know,
we're going to keep going to our back is the issue.
Are you going to put it together for 3 straight rounds this time, Ryan? I hope he does, man. You know, he's been putting in work at the Performance Institute in Vegas.
Ricky Lindell.
You know, he's doing the right things to get different results. You know, he changed things up. So I wish him the best, man. I'd like to see him come out here and perform. With Ashkan, you know, even though, you know, he is a bit of an Ashkan, at least, you know, he was in a Moraga guillotine. He didn't tap. Other people have tapped to that in the past. It's a tight choke, let me tell you that. And he lasted all 3 rounds with a guy that just knocked out Bibulatov in the first round. So, you know, that's one thing he's got going for him, and he landed a couple kicks on Moraga, too.
He's a big flyweight as well.
He's big for the weight class. Ryan should take him out. Should, keyword. So I hope he does for everyone that bet him. Now, heavyweight division. We got Adam Wieczorek. He's minus 155. And the comeback on the freight train, Anthony Hamilton, is plus 135. So the freight train isn't done yet, Shaq.
Well, the freight train is done yet, and I'll tell you why. I mean, he comes into the UFC debut against Alexei Olenek. He eats a right hand, feels it, and then, Alexei schoolyard chokes him out, and you know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is. Then he goes in there against Daniel Omalanchuk, who, is he with the company anymore? He's not with the company anymore. And look, Daniel Omalanchuk is what we like to refer to as a fat jobber. I mean, the guy just puts his back on the fence. It's funny because I actually bet on Omalanchuk in the one spot, and he beat Alexei. So that was actually really cool. But my thing with Anthony Hamilton is, the guy just retired like a couple months ago against Spitz. He's going face first in all of his fights now, and he's been striking, leading in with his head. And I just feel like the game plan is very simple here. Just come ready early, touch this guy's chin, and he should do a face plant. Range, Adam, he is a smaller heavyweight, and on the local scene, it looks like he likes to do a lot of stupid shit. Like I see with a lot of the European guys. I've seen a lot of European guys go out there and try to go for triangles off their back. For example, Alexander Ratchik, the guy that fought Bahoza, he was allegedly some K1 striker, but on the local scene, he kept trying to go for flying triangles and shit. And I was like, bro, I can't bet on this fucking guy. But then he comes in here in his UFC debut and puts it on Bahoza, and it was minus 120. It was one of the easiest money fights on the card. And, I just think that you have to have action against Anthony Hamilton at this stage of his career. When you're getting knocked out by, 205ers like Marcel Fortuna, who's a guy who's on his verge of getting cut from the company, you just got to have action against them. And Adam, I see him on Instagram hitting pads, #knockout on all of his posts. So I think he knows the game plan here. Circle off, land that right hand, and let's see the man fall. And it's been a great career for Anthony Hamilton. He was the NFC champ, but it hasn't translated in the UFC. And I just think when those bright lights hit and he finally gets touched on that chin, he'll have had enough.
Yeah, Anthony Hamilton's at that point where he's getting face planted by the first punch thrown. Don't forget what Daniel Spitz did in his fight before the Anthony Hamilton fight.
When Mark Godbeer, you know what I'm saying? I know it was on a week short notice, but still, you know what I'm saying? When Mark Godbeer tools around with Spitz like that, and then he comes in his second fight and just one punch, you know what I'm saying? And it was like a really glancing blow, you know what I'm saying? So
not only that, you look at a guy like Marcel Fortuna. He weighed 210 pounds when he fought Anthony Hamilton, and he knocked him stiff with the right hand. And then Marcel Fortuna loses his next two fights to jobbers. So it just shows you the kind of level that Anthony Hamilton has basically declined to.
And yeah, so I parlayed Will Brooks minus 350, Adam at minus 155 plus 112, and I think it's gonna be a good money parlay, bro.
Yeah, and if I play this fight, I'll put 2 units on Adam straight. I haven't played it as of yet, but definitely eyeing it because this might be the last chance we get to fade Anthony Hamilton.
It is going to be the last time.
So, the thing with Adam is that he does all that dumb shit, flops to his back, but is he going to do that here in his UFC debut?
I don't think he's going to do that for the UFC debut. I think, in the local scene, guys have the tendency to just play around at times, especially on the Euro scene. And I feel like he's going to come in here, #knockout, and knock this guy out.
So next up in the lightweight division, now I finally do have a bet for this one, Shaq. We got Alex Volkanovski. He's minus 600, and the comeback on Shane Young is plus 450.
Yeah, the under was set at minus 2.5, and Shane Young's never been finished in his career. The reason why I feel like a fight like this should never be the under or over under should never be set at 2.5. I feel like this should be 1.5. Like, look, Shane Young's a tough guy, but he's never seen anything like this before in his entire life, and I feel like Volkanovski should come out here and get him out of here in under 2.5 rounds if he's the real deal. I don't want a war. I don't want any back and forth, unless Shane Young wants to shock the world and knock him out. I feel like it's a safe play both ways. If Shane Young wants to shock the world and knock Volkanovski out, coming in, because Volkanovski is a bantamweight, if we're being honest. And if he wants to knock Volkanovski out, then go ahead. Just do it under 2.5 rounds. And I just see Volkanovski throwing too many concussive blows. And Shane Young, bright lights, never feeling anything like this. I think eventually the opening will be founded. The way he strikes, he's too slow. Volkanovski's too powerful, too fast. The ground and pound, if it hits the mat. I just think Volkanovski gets the job done in under 2.5 rounds.
Yeah, Shane Young got the call that he was going to fight Alex Volkanovski 3 days ago, just to put that into perspective. Who knows what kind of shape this guy is in. But, I watched his fights on the regional scene. If they're any indicator, he's very slow.
He's willing to bang.
He's plodding, and he walks forward, which is exactly what Alex Volkanovski wants. He doesn't want to have to find you out there. This isn't a guy that's going to try to, find his range and look pretty and, pot shot. Shane Young is going to come out here and try to fight Volkanovski. So that's a recipe for Volkanovski to slip the jab, throw a big right hand over the top, and knock this guy out. And if he's able to do that under 2.5 rounds at minus 140, I think we're going to cash a nice bet here. I put 2 units on it. And like you said, man, if Shane Young wants to come out here and shock the world, be my guest. Just do it under 2.5. But look, man, I think this is the perfect opportunity for Alex Volkanovski to extend his win streak, get a big fight, get a highlight reel knockout. And if you don't know the story with his last fight, because I know he fought an old guy in Mizuta, and we're all like, how come he didn't knock him out? Well, firstly, he kind of did knock him out. If you go back and watch that, that should have been stopped. But that being said, man, you go and you listen to his interview on Half the Battle, and he said that he had a staph infection the day before the weigh-ins, and he basically was fighting in a way that he was conserving himself. He'd hurt Mizuta Hirota, and then he'd be like, all right, I gotta chill out. I don't want to gas myself out. He didn't know how much gas he had for 3 straight rounds. Now I gotta assume this guy's in the shape of his life. I'm hoping, he doesn't get another staph infection. I'm sure that he's gonna show up 100% for this one. Slip a big jab, throw that right hand, and knock this dude out and cash that under 2.5. So I got Alex Volkanovski, and I can't wait to see who he gets matched up with next. Middleweight division, we got Elias Theodorou. He's minus 260. The comeback on Daniel the GOAT Kelly is plus 220.
Yeah, it's a good fight. Before the Brad Tavares fight, my thoughts on Elias Theodorou weren't very high. I thought he was super overrated. I still think he's a little bit overrated, but I feel like this is a good spot for him. One thing you can't question about Elias is heart and cardio. Say what you want about the guy, but the guy will not quit. The guy can push a pace for 3 rounds. And he made me sweat my Brad Tavares play. Just put it that way. I was very worried about that. It looked like he was about to steal it, and then luckily Brad, the better fighter, prevailed. And I think he's a better fighter in the spot. Dan Kelly, of course, he's got a good left hand, solid vet. The guy finished Antonio Carlos Jr., but I feel like he's on the tail end, especially after that last loss. And I know it's in Australia, but I just think Elias can push a pace that he simply cannot deal with. Elias is going to run away here. He's going to see that left hand coming from a mile away. And he's going to weasel out a decision. He's going to kick him. He's going to tie him up whenever he wants to just to break. And then he's going to separate and throw the kick again. And it's going to be 29-28 on 2 cards, 30-27. And he should win this fight. I would not take the shot on Kelly because, especially after that last fight, 40, how old is he now? 42, 41? 40. You know what I'm saying? And, you're going to split with Rashad Evans, and you know what I'm saying? And look, I think the guy's tough. He finished Antonio Carlos Jr., who, in my opinion, is the number 1 prospect at 185. But I just think Elias is going to just outwork him for 3 rounds.
Shaq, when people beat Dan Kelly, how do they usually beat him?
Knockout.
When was the last time Elias Theodorou knocked out anything?
He doesn't have to, though.
No, answer the question.
Never. Sheldon Westcott?
Roger Narvaez. All right.
Who's faster, Roger Narvaez or Dan Kelly?
Who's won a fight in the UFC?
Roger Narvaez won a fight in the UFC.
That didn't really happen. It's one of these situations where, how diminished is Dan Kelly from that knockout loss? We can excuse it, say that it was Derek Brunson, a dude that knocks almost everyone he faces out in the first round. He probably would have knocked out Elias too. It is what it is. And then we got to look at, do people often outwork Daniel Kelly when they fight him? And they usually don't. That's why he's able to win these fights.
Has he fought anyone with this pace?
Carlos Jr. doesn't have a half-bad pace.
It was a 22-year-old Carlos Jr., you know what I'm saying? Hey, props to him. He made Carlos Jr. quit. But the thing is, man, you don't do fights over, and Carlos Jr. lost when it mattered. But we We know what happened if they fought again. He'd get fucking smoked. And fucking, I think Carlos Jr., but MMA math, none of that matters. I just think that Elias's cardio is his biggest weapon, and his pace is his biggest weapon. I mean, even in the Maheda fight where he lost, he got completely bludgeoned. But I mean, the guy never stopped. He had Maheda tied up on that fence the whole fight, and he was getting fucking elbowed, kneed, and he still kept coming, man. And then the Tavares fight, I thought that was an easy fight for Tavares going in. I was Brad, come in here and expose this kid, which he did, but it was a fight. It was a fight all the way to the end.
When has Dan Kelly ever had problems in the cardio department, though?
Who has he fought that can exploit that, though?
Well, I mean, he has fought in Mexico, right? Wasn't the Rashad fight in Mexico?
And that was an ugly contest.
Actually, it wasn't in Mexico.
It was an ugly contest. And Rashad, I mean, he's losing to Sam Alvey now, and you know what I'm saying? That's where I feel like Dan Kelly's on. I feel like he can still beat, I feel like if he rematched Alvey, he can win that, or if he, fought a guy, you know what I'm saying? I just don't think he's going to be.
Who you got if Jocko and Dan Kelly fought?
Jocko, you know what I'm saying?
You say that with confidence still?
Yes, with confidence. Well, not like
what's been happening to our boy lately?
Not with max bet confidence, but I think Jocko would win that fight. I don't think Kelly has that real one punch.
What happened to Jocko, bro?
ATT happened, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I think Elias is gonna outwork him, kick his arms, get his arms filled up with blood, and I know for a fact Elias has the better cardio and can push the pace harder.
I'd love to see Dan Kelly come out here, hit him with a straight left, floor the young boy. When he gets up, hit him with a judo throw. You know what I'm saying? send him back to the United States. So, I got to root for Dan Kelly, of course. Welterweight division. Jake Matthews, he's minus 140. The comeback on Bojan Velickovic is plus 120. Now, are you still in the Bojan Velickovic business?
Jake Matthews... Being in business with both of these guys is very fucking sketchy. I'll tell you that right now. Because Jake Matthews lost to fucking Holbrook, bro. And now, look, Holbrook's a guy that, I love to fade, Neto BJJ, 44 seconds, easy KO.
Gregor Gillespie,
easy KO. Holbrook's that guy you come in there and, you max bet his opponents to come in here and get that first round easy KO. And, I mean, the guy just lost to T-Bout Gotti, the Frenchie, you know what I'm saying? And, Jake Matthews lost to that guy, and it was ugly. Look, I actually thought he won the fight, but it was still embarrassing that he even let it get that far. And Bojan, before the Nico Masoke fight, I told myself Bojan's never a guy I don't want to get in business with because I was at his fight with Graves, and the way he fights, it's always going to come down to the wire. It's always going to be a split. And, he loses a split to Sultan. He went to draw with Graves. His fight with Alessio, which he went to split, where in my opinion he clearly won. We know his fights are like that. It's going to be a split decision, a close fight. He's not going to push the issue, which is good in certain spots, and it could be good in this spot. But after his last fight with Till, I can't get involved with that guy because when you're doing exactly what we want you to do for the first 2 minutes, you're getting Till a little frustrated, and then you want to put on a show. You get 150K bonus. You want to put on a show, and you want to slug with Till now, and you pay the price of you to elbow, and I'm not sure if the guy can ever come back from that. I wanna wait it out and see how he comes back before I ever want to get into the Bojan business. I do think he should win this fight. I just think he's with the right game plan. I feel like he could take this fight very easily. But the thing is, I don't know how Matthews is going to be at 170. Is he going to come back with life in him? Was the weight cut too much? I don't know. So I'm going to pass. There's too many questions in this fight. I'm going to take Bojan, but definitely I'm going to sit back and enjoy.
It's interesting, man, because you look back at that Jake Matthews versus Andrew Holbrook fight, and on one hand you say, this guy lost to fucking Andrew Holbrook. But then on the other hand you say, what happened to that explosive guy that, was coming up the ranks early on in his career? Was the weight cut too much? Maybe him at 170 pounds, maybe he gets back to that guy that was destroying dudes, even though they were jobbers. But the thing with Bojan, man, is that he let me down big time his last fight. And it's not the fact that he lost the fight. I can deal with an L. It's no big deal. It's the fact that you're doing the game plan perfectly for the first 2 minutes. You're leg kicking and running. And then you decide, because you got a 50K bonus in your last fight versus Musoki, which, you can even say that was a fluke KO. But bottom line is, you got your first 50K bonus in a fight. And then he decides, I'm going to taunt and dance against Darren Till inside the octagon. And immediately he got dropped with an elbow, and that was such a concussive blow that, he gets up, then he's trying to hug Darren Till, and he's doing all these things where we know the dude's concussed, and, I don't even know if he's recovered from it. So I'm not playing Bojan here. I understand why others are, because he's bigger than Jake, and if he has the right game plan, he can come out here and outpoint Jake Matthews. But when we went back and we watched the tape, man, that last fight, that was brutal. So we'll see how he comes back, and, he changed camps, he did all these things. Is he coming out here with a smart game plan, or is he coming out here to put on a show? I don't know. I'm going to go with Jake Matthews. I feel like there's been a trend where these dudes have been looking way better when they move up a weight class. And I'm not saying Jake is going to be a top 15 guy or anything like that, but I think he's got enough to win this fight. Just depends if Bojan comes out with the game plan or not. But since I have to make a pick, I'll go with Jake. Now, the real co-main event of the evening, we got Tim the Dirty Bird Means. He's minus 220, and the comeback on Belal, remember the name Muhammad, is plus 180.
Yeah, it's a good fight, man. Initially, when this fight got scheduled, I was definitely going to play Belal, but then, when you watch that tape, Tim Means, his fights with Alex Cowboy, people are just under the assumption that Belal is going to come out here and, wrestle him for 3 rounds. And to be honest, I just don't see that being the case. I don't think his wrestling is good enough to consistently take him down. He might take him down once, but let's not act like Tim Means can't get up. I mean, Alex Garcia briefly took him down. He popped right back up. Even in the Alex Cowboy fights, he reversed Alex Cowboy with the same Kimura sweep that Jordan Mean hit on Belal. Jordan Mean swept Belal like 2 or 3 times with a Kimura sweep. Although Belal recovered very fast and he got back up to his feet, Tim Means has that same exact reversal. And even in the second fight where Tim looked like shit, you know what I'm saying? Alex Cowboy took him down, and Tim Means reversed him and got back on top. So I don't think Tim Means, people are under the assumption that his wrestling game is complete shit. It's definitely the weakness in his game, but I just don't think Belal's wrestling is good enough to take him down consistently, you know what I'm saying? And on the feet now, Belal and Tim Means, they both have a similar approach. They both like to parry, they both like to hand fight. And Tim Means is the longer guy and the guy that has the better power, in my opinion, and the better chin, in my opinion. I think if Belal wants to play that hand fighting parrying game with Tim Means, I just feel like Tim Means slightly better than him. And then, like I said, I don't think his wrestling's good enough to consistently take him down. And I feel like Tim has the better chin. I feel like, it depends on which Tim Means shows up. Tim Means is the type of guy that, will drop the ball from time to time. And, even though he lost Alex Cowboy, that's Alex fucking Cowboy. Like, that guy brings a different type of brutality. That guy is way stronger than Belal, I'll tell you that right now. And, the Randy Brown fight with Belal Mahal, I see the openings for the straight shots. I see the openings for the hooks, off the straight shots. And Belal's my guy, man. I talk to the guy all the time, but as a betting man, I have to pass on the plus 180 because I don't see any particular real advantages he has in this fight. Like I said, I don't think his wrestling is good enough to take Tim down on a consistent basis. So I'm going to take Tim in this fight. I'm going to say by 29-28 decision, back and forth fight. I think, he'll wobble him maybe once or twice. I think Belal will recover and still stay in the fight. Like I said, 29-28, I think he'll win a round, but I'm going to take Tim Means.
It's a really good fight, man. On one hand, you can look at it like Belal Muhammad has struggled with southpaws in the past. You saw the fight with Alan Juban. He did get dropped a couple times. But on the other hand, you can say, what about that third round when he 10-8'd Juban? He came back with
Tim Means ain't chinny like that, but yeah.
Tim Means ain't chinny like that. This is true. But, man, he drops the ball a lot.
To Alex Cowboy. And he didn't drop. He got beat. It wasn't dropping the ball. He got beat. Alex Cowboy is the better fighter. Alex Cowboy is a top 15.
The first time they fought, Alex Cowboy wasn't the better fighter.
The thing is,
the second time he straight dropped the ball.
That's what the game is. One night you fight him, one guy wins. That's why we have flukes in MMA. If Rose and Joanna fought another time, Joanna would probably win. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? If Cody and TJ fought another time right now, you know what I'm saying? Well, he's concussed right now, but in a couple months, you know what I'm saying? I don't know who wins, but when it mattered, Alex Cowboy got his hand raised, and Tim did some illegal shit. And the thing is, Alex Cowboy took him down in that fight too, in the first fight, after Tim was doing his thing for a little bit. Alex Cowboy is Belal. I think Belal's a great fighter, but Alex Cowboy is on a completely different level. Like, we just saw what Alex Cowboy did to Ryan LaFleur. You know what I'm saying? Ryan LaFleur, a guy who's lost one fight in the UFC to Damien Maya, he got knocked out stiff. That's the type of level Alex Cowboy's on. Alex Cowboy's knees in the clinch are brutal. His tie-up game is brutal. Belal ain't going to do that. I'll tell you that right now. Tim Means ain't. People are under the assumption that he's that bad at wrestling. I don't think he is.
Well, it's not that he's necessarily bad at wrestling. I mean, you don't have to take the guy down to grind him out. You can grind him out
I don't
against
think
the
he
cage.
can tie. I mean, that's Tim. That's Tim's game. If you want to tie up with Tim, just make sure you know those elbows are coming. And we've seen Belal wobble.
We've seen Belal wobble. We've seen Tim.
I've seen Tim. Yeah, but Belal ain't something. I'll tell you that right. I don't. Like I said, I don't think his
It's
wrestling.
not just Alex Cowboy.
I don't think his wrestling.
Matchy Brown had something to say about it too.
It's a prime Matt Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I think Belal is on the come up, unless he makes significant improvements in his game, which I'm sure he has. And I don't think Tim's going to make improvements at these 33. He's had like 40 fights. The thing is, from what I've seen on Belal from tape, he has the same approach on the feet as Tim. And I think Tim's slightly better. And I mean, when you're getting reversed by Jordan Mean 3 times and, you can't even take him down. Like he got he didn't even get a takedown that fight. He got one, but Mean would hop right back up every single time. And I just see Tim doing the same thing. And I feel like Tim's slightly better on the feet.
Well, Tim is definitely better on the feet than the last 2 guys that Belal has fought. But at the same time, those 2 fights are definitely going to get him ready for this one. I mean, he's in there with the long strikers like Randy Brown, like Jordan Meehan. But now he's facing a southpaw. That's the biggest difference in my opinion, because when those straight shots come down the pipe from a southpaw, it's just from a completely different angle that you don't expect. So, if Belal tries to come out here and get into a parrying battle with Tim Means, he could get knocked out. But I think he's smarter than that. I think he can... it's not going to be the inside leg kick here. It's going to have to be the lead leg outside leg kick. Use that lead leg outside leg kick, kind of like Gaethje did to MJ. You have to use that. If he doesn't use that, he's going to get in big trouble. He has to use that. He has to clinch him up against the fence and make it dirty. Try to take his back. Try to drag it to the mat. Because, I mean, you go toe-to-toe with the dirty bird. And
look, a lot of people are saying that Tim looked like shit in his last fight with Alex. And I don't even think he looked like shit, We know what type of power Alex Garcia has. Alex caught him with the right hand early, and Tim was like, oh, fuck that shit. I'm just going to box his body up from the outside. And he clearly won the next 2 rounds. It showed that, he doesn't have to bang in a fight. He can point fight as well, which we really don't see from him. Generally, he's all action, big elbows, big 1-2s, and he showed that he can be calm and win a decision.
Yeah, and we know Belal has that quality as well.
Exactly.
He's all about winning the decision. So... I think it comes down to a couple things. I think that Belal can take a lot from the Alex Garcia fight. And the thing is, Alex is historically known for fading late, man. He showed a lot of vulnerabilities in Tim's game. He just didn't have the gas to go out there and finish the job. And I think that a guy like Belal, especially now that he's coming into his own inside the octagon, he can exploit that.
Let's not forget, Alex Garcia took down Sean Strickland and Neil Magny, I'm saying, on a consistent basis. He took Strickland down like 3 times. He took Magny down.
What does that have to do with anything?
But I'm saying, that guy actually has, a legit shot. I don't think Belal has, a legit double leg to get Tim down, is what I'm saying.
I mean, there's other takedowns besides a double leg, right?
Even if, he wanted to tie, even though he wanted to, tie up on the fence, bro, getting into that game with Tim is, I just don't think it's if I were to bet this at a dog money, which I'm not, I would not be very confident. That's what I'm saying.
I understand. Yeah. Well, I'm not betting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like it could go either way. So may the best man win. Hopefully the best man is remember the name. But we'll see. Main event of the evening. Fabricio Werdum, the former heavyweight champion. He's minus 345, and the comeback on the up-and-comer, Marcin Tybura, is plus 285. Now, Shaq, I kind of thought on paper that not necessarily that it's a mismatch, but it's a massive step up in competition for Marcin Tybura, especially when you consider that his last fight, when they give you Arlovski and you're a young up-and-comer, you saw what Ngannou did to Arlovski. You're supposed to go out there and blow Arlovski out the water. You're supposed to knock him out in that first round, and Marcin almost dropped the ball, bro. Oh, yeah. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, like you said, when you get the Arlovski fight, you're supposed to make an example out of him, like Stipe did, like Overeem did, like Ngannou did, like Albini couldn't do, you know what I'm saying? But hey, at least Tybura got through it, even though it wasn't very impressive. Now, the thing is, we know Verdum's the better fighter here. We know he's way better on the mat. And his last fight against Walt Harris was, he treated Walt Harris exactly like how he was supposed to treat Walt Harris because he's the better fighter. His last fight with Overeem, the fight before that with Overeem, there's no shame in that. Overeem's just a better fighter. And fucking, Tybura is just not on that level, man. If people want to take that shot, I'm not going to sit here and act like Tybura can't knock him out because heavyweights throwing punches, anything can happen, you know what I'm saying? It's a heavyweight fight, so you know what you're getting yourself into. But I think Werdum's the better fighter here. He should outclass him. Marcin has to knock him out cold to win this fight, in my opinion.
I think Werdum's the better fighter as well. And, I hear people talking about how, Werdum's chinny and all this. He's only been knocked out by the hardest puncher in the division, Junior Cigano, and by the current champion, Stipe Miocic. It is what it is. Marcin was just in there with a guy that was 100 times more chinnier in Arlovski, who's been knocked out 10 times, and Marcin couldn't knock him out. It was Marcin that almost got knocked out by Arlovski at the end of the first round and during the second round, man. So, I had a max bet on Marcin in that fight, and he made me sweat that shit. It was I had two on the night. I had John Tuck to beat Gomi, which you know how that went. He took care of Biz, and then you think Marcin Tybura is about to take care of Biz against Arlovski, and he makes you sweat. He made me earn that, and I don't think he has what it takes to beat Werdum. Look, if he lands a shin to the chin, okay, much respect. You got the biggest win of your life, but this ain't Victor Pesta no more. This ain't Luis Henrique anymore, man. This ain't Andrei Arlovski anymore, who you're barely scraping by. This is Fabricio Werdum, and even though, he's 41 years old, but with the heavyweights, they do good when they're old.
40.
You know what I'm saying? They're all around that age. I think the straight punches are going to be faster and crisper for Werdum. I think the knees up the middle, especially in that tie clinch. And this guy, he's not afraid to throw a flying side kick. He's not afraid to throw a flying knee. He's not afraid to pull guard. If you land a big shot on him, he'll pull guard. He's doing all that cocky shit that he's done over the years. Remember when he tapped out Fedor? I mean, the guy's been doing this shit for years. Even the second Overeem fight, which didn't go his way, if you watch that, he actually outstruck Overeem. He straight up outstruck Overeem.
He won the fight, though.
Judging was different back then.
Yeah, right. Overeem won the first 2 rounds, clear as day.
And then the third Overeem
he
fight,
fucked Overeem up in the third round.
He knocked Overeem down. I mean, that's the kind of level of striker that Werdum is. You saw what he did to Cain Velasquez in Mexico when Cain's supposed to be cardio Cain. I think Fabricio Werdum's got something from Marcin Tybura. I think he's going to come out here. I think he's going to finish him. Whether it's the first takedown, like he did against Walt Harris, pass to side control, get that full mount, get that armbar. That was beautiful. Or, if they stand and bang for a little bit and he knocks him out, whatever he decides to do, I think that Fabricio is going to take care of business. And if somehow Marcin can pull off this upset, hats off, you know what I'm saying? But I think he's going to take a setback here. Well, Shaq, we got to hit up Kyle Marley for the Big Marley Minute. And joining us now on the Big Marley Minute is Big Marley himself. Big Marley coming off. Man, you're on quite the hot streak, my friend. It must be feeling good to get all these big wins.
Yeah, man, I'm loving it. If I could just keep it going this weekend, that'd be great.
I mean, what's the secret, man? Everyone's been asking me, what does Kyle Marley do differently that I don't do?
I don't know, man. I put in more lineups, I guess. That would be different than what you do. But other than that, man, just hard work pays.
Yes, sir, it does. And, I'd have to assume that Alex Volkanovski is about to be a huge favorite on DraftKings because, look, he's minus 650 in the betting lines, but he's minus 650 for a reason, man. I looked up this kid, Shane Young, that he's fighting, and let's just say the striking defense is an issue. We know that part of your game has to be on point when you're fighting a guy like Alex, and I also found out that Alex actually had a staph infection in his last fight. That's why he wasn't able to get the finish. I would have to assume he's 100% here, and if that's the case, he's going to come out here and put a beating on Shane Young. Are you putting him in your lineup?
Yeah, I think it'll be hard to avoid. I think it's probably the best play on the card, highest ceiling, safest play as well. The only problem is he's the most expensive, so he's going to have to score the most points on the card in order to win you the GPP. But I don't think that's out of reach, so I think I'll definitely have him in GPPs. I'm not sure if he's a lock in my cash yet, just because I'm having a hard time finding dogs I like this week.
How expensive are we talking? 9,100?
9,500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You don't often see those, do you?
Not usually, but I mean, he should pay it off. I think he would get over 100 points. So 9,500 is not too bad as long as you're going to rack up the points.
So I heard you had an opinion on this one because Jake Matthews is taking on Bojan Velickovic, and man, I gotta say, Darren Till whooped Bojan's ass, and I don't know if he's still recovered, and I like the trend with these guys going up a weight class, and that's what Jake's doing here. I would expect him to look better if it really was the weight cut that was affecting him. What do you think?
Yeah, he needs this win big time. And I do think Bojan will be a little bit popular on this card. I've seen a lot of people picking him in bets. So that's what's making me lean more towards Matthews. Is I would rather have an under-owned Matthews, who I think is the better fighter and can control where this fight goes and could win it on the feet or on the ground. And he's only 8,500 on DraftKings. Bojan is 7,700. So I think I'm going to have to kind of stay in this mid-range a little bit since I'm not loving a lot of dogs. So he's just kind of fallen right into the lineups that I'm making. So I think Matthews would be my preferred play. But I'm seeing a lot of people on Bojan. If it wasn't for people being on him, maybe I would have him as some punts. But if he's going to be over-owned, I think I would just fade him.
Another dog I have a feeling a lot of people are going to like is Belal. Remember the name Muhammad. But, man, this is a tough matchup for me to predict. What are you thinking, man, as far as DK?
He's definitely my favorite name down there at the bottom. So he's the one I'm wanting to pick out of those people. However, the problem is I'm loving Tim Means in this matchup, so I would prefer Tim Means on my team. He's just 9,100, and Muhammad is 7,100. So I'm having a hard time on this one. I would prefer Means. I think he could finish this fight on the feet. But if he is getting taken down and he loses the decision, then Muhammad's going to pay off his value for sure, and Means lineups are all going to be dead. So I think I would rather just take both of these guys maybe in different lineups. If I'm going 3 lineups, have one of each in them, and then fade the third.
So a fight that I know for a fact these two are going to stand and bang until one guy falls is Frank Camacho versus Damien Brown. You just know that these two are going to throw some serious heat. The winner's going to score a lot of points. Now, with Camacho, I mean, he could win this fight by first-round knockout. The guy comes out there, he throws the kill. But with Damien Brown, he's a little durable Australian, man. And if he can get past that first round, he's got cardio for days. So I do think the winner's going to score a lot of points. Are you leaning a certain way?
I'm leaning towards Camacho. I've never been high on Brown. But these Australian fights are difficult because the flights are usually so far for people. And you got the hometown guy there in Brown. He's only 7,800 on DraftKings, while Camacho's 8,400. So I wouldn't say Brown is a bad play at all. I could definitely see a lot of people being on him, and he could definitely pay off that $7,800 price tag. But my preferred play is Camacho, and I would hope he does get that first-round finish. I'm not locking him in any lineups. I would rather avoid this fight than make it a lock, but preferred play is Camacho.
So I see everyone's fading this guy, Ashkan Mokhtarian, and I understand why. I mean, you watch the tape, it's not very impressive at all, but the thing is, Ryan Benoit, look, I am a fan. I mean, he's exciting to watch, but there's a reason he's a 500 fighter in the UFC. He drops the ball a lot. But that being said, he's due for a win. You think he's going to get one here?
Yeah, I think he will get one. I'm just not sure what his ownership will be like. I do think everyone's going to be fading Ashkan as well, which makes me think that they will be on Benoit. So if I get a judge on the ownership by the end of the week, if he's going to be popular, I would fade this fight and maybe even take the shot on Ashkan just to go the opposite way. But I definitely think Benoit wins this fight, possibly a knockout. So he's the preferred play, but I think it really just depends on the ownership. If he's going to be too popular, I don't want anything to do with him.
Another guy that people might be fading is Anthony Hamilton. The issue is that, Adam Wieczorek on the regional scene, he plays a lot of games, man. He flops to his back a lot. It's just, is he going to do that here in the UFC when it matters the most, under the bright lights, and you're taking on a guy in Anthony Hamilton where you just need one punch and the guy's in a faceplant?
Yeah, I think this is a great fight to target either way. I think Wieczorek will be popular because Hamilton cannot take a punch. And recently, if you pick against Hamilton, you're locking up 100 points on your team. So I don't hate 100 points, that's for sure. So I don't think he's a bad play. I just think he will be popular as well because of the Hamilton fade. So I would rather lean towards Hamilton on this one. But the problem is you could get 0 points on your lineup. So I don't think he's cash viable really, unless you just have to take that punt. But I think he's a decent GPP play because people won't be on him. And if he wins, he should pay off his price tag of 7,500. So yeah, as long as he gets over 75 points in a win, then he would be fine. It's just, are you comfortable with taking a 0 on your lineup? It's a risk you'd have to take. But I think the other guy will be pretty popular.
So, man, as a fan of the sport, Elias Theodorou, he is kind of boring. But I got to ask you, even though his fights go to decision, does he score a lot? Because the dude has a lot of volume, even if he's throwing at the air.
No, I don't think he does. Let me check here. He's averaging 66.6.
Oh, that's not good, huh?
Well, his first fight against Westcott, he scored 131.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been awesome. But the only time he's is Navarez. He had 100 on the nose against him, and he has not even came close to 100 since. So, Dan Kelly, I guess, would be the guy to score high on. That's one of the few guys I do fade. It hadn't worked out for me very well, except for the last fight. But I have a bet on Elias paired up with Will Brooks, so I think that might just be enough investment for me where I can just fade this fight in DraftKings and hope he just wins.
So the main event, Fabricio Werdum, he's taking on Marcin Tybura. As far as I'm concerned, man, I think Werdum's going to come out here and finish him, but I'm looking at the books, man, and a lot of action is coming in on Tybura in multiple books, man. A lot of people think that this young, fresh guy can come out here and upset the former champion. I personally don't see it. I think Werdum is just levels above this guy. What's your opinion?
I think for should win, you're right, and he does score decently. If he wins, a submission is not out of reach, and he would score high if that happens. The problem is he's 9,300 on DraftKings. So he's pretty much right there with Volkanovski, where I would rather have him than Werdum, and I would rather just take that punt on Tybura at 6,900 because if he wins, maybe it's a first-round knockout. You got the heavyweights, so those you just never know exactly how those are going to happen. So I would rather just take the punt in here. But I like both guys. I don't think stacking in cash is a bad idea. If you're making multiple lineups, I think this is a good fight to use both ways. However, if I was only making one lineup and I had to use this fight, I would go Tybura.
Well, Kyle, you're the man. The fans can follow you at Big Marley 3. Kyle, any message for them before we speak next week?
Nah, man, good luck. If you guys want to play me, I got head-to-heads posted. But if you come at the king, you best not miss.
Kyle, thanks again, brother. We'll talk next week for Kelvin Gastelum versus Michael Bisping.
All right, man. Sounds good. Good luck this weekend.
You too, brother. Peace out.
Later.
And that's why Kyle Marley is the DraftKings guy for half the battle. Once again, coming off a massive win. I mean, this guy's cleaning house, dude.
I mean, consistent basis, that's what everyone's looking for, that consistent, easy money.
Yeah, and when you talk about consistent, easy money, you follow Big Marley 3 on Twitter. Well, Shaq, we got to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. So what is the fight to watch for UFC Sydney?
The fight to watch is going to be Belal versus Tim Means. If Belal can come out here and get this win, that'll be a huge win for him. Tim Means is a guy that's probably like top 25, top 20, right outside the top 15. And if he can go in here and get the win, that'll be the biggest one of his career. Yeah,
anytime you got Belal Muhammad and Tim Means, obviously that's one of the fights to watch. For me, I got to go with Damien Beatdown Brown versus Frank Camacho. Like I said earlier in my breakdown, these two are going to stand and bang until one guy falls. And if someone happens to not fall, I'll tell you this, people are going to get dropped in this fight, but if someone happens to not go out, then it's going to be an epic fight of the night type battle. I would be very surprised if it was a one-sided, 3-round ass whooping. If this fight goes 3 rounds, it's going to be a war, and if it ends in the first, someone's going to make a big statement. So for that reason, that is the fight to watch. So Shaq, who is the fighter to watch for UFC Sydney?
My fighter to watch is going to be Will Brooks, man. I mean, coming over to the UFC with all the hype he had, former Bellator champion, and, me and you both knew that he was going to have to pay his dues when he came over here, and he's paid those dues. So now he's got a very favorable matchup in Nick Lentz, a guy, like I said, whose body is failing on him. Will Brooks, his best friend Poirier, just won his fight last week, so hopefully he's riding high off the momentum and he can get another win for the team, and I think he is. He needs this one bad.
My fighter to watch is Fabricio Werdum. In a way, this fight is a crossroads, and the reason I say that is because, do you know how devastating it would be for his career if he lost this fight?
It'd be over.
That would be a detrimental L if he lost to Marcin Tybura. But at the same time, if he goes out here and gets this win, he can show that, not only can he beat a guy like Walt Harris, but, much respect to Walt Harris, but let's be honest, he's a sub-500 fighter. But with Tybura, he's got a winning record in the UFC. He's coming off a win over a former champion. And besides that, he's been knocking everyone out. So if Werdum can go out here and finish a guy like Tybura, that'll show that, hey, I can still swim with these young sharks in the heavyweight division, and maybe I am ready to make a second title run. So he is my fighter to watch. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday, UFC Sydney. They don't got us on an early time this time. You know what I'm saying? They got the regular time slot. It's all good. They're taking care of us.
It's all about that Eastern Standard Time zone, man.
That's right. They can follow you at MMA Genius 05. And any message for them?
Nah, man. Just thanks for the support. I'm gonna keep bringing home the winning bets. But next week there's a very good opportunity on the China card, and just stay tuned.
Yeah, same here. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. Go to bestfightpicks.com for the play. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. And, just got to get back on a hot streak. I mean, for the year, I'm up well and good. It's just, how this shit goes. This is long term. We're winning long term. People like to only talk about, but the last 2 events you lost. This is true. You're 100% correct. But what about the last year? What about the last 2 years? What about the last 3 years? Been up for all of those, and I'm going to continue to do so. So until the next time, let's cash these bets.